And once that's on, perfect. So, hi, thank you for joining us tonight. Well, me really. I was really exciting showing you my new online course and the knitting patterns that are going with it. And I've put together a little presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen. And as I say, I might stop in 5 minutes to let in anyone that has been coming late. So let me share my screen and then I will share the presentation. Here we are. So I hope you can all hear me clearly and see me well. Should I just make sure of that before? I think I can see a few faces. So if I don't see any big waves, I will just carry on. So I can see there is someone in the waiting room, sorry. And something in the chat, all good, got it, good. So I think you can still see me and sorry about that. This is very new to me. Good, so here is the presentation. So some of you know me and I've presented in the community before, so I'm not going to go over my background and the things I've done before. You can find them in the Meet the Maker video on the MKC, but I will just give you a bit of background about Ferrell first and the island and why it's famous for its knitting. Then I will present you what we call the academy, the Ferrell Academy. And after that, I will show you the knitting patterns, then the video and the platform on the machine knit community where this is all happening. And then I've got a few pictures of what people have made so far. I had some test knitters that made some nice things. And then I will leave a lot of time at the end for some question and answer for anything that I haven't made obvious because I'm so into this. So here's Ferryle. So Ferryle is the most remote island in the UK, inhabited island in the UK. It's a tiny 3 by 2 miles, 50 resident community, and it's been famous for its knitwear for over 100 years, more than that, 200 years maybe. Because it was such a key position in the sea, it was a highway of the time, so lots of trading with passing ship, and the knitwear got sent all over the world from Fair Isle, and Fair Isle knitter got access to a lot of dyes way before other places in Scotland. So that's why Fair Isle knitwear is very colorful traditionally and renowned for. So the landscape is very dramatic, and when you think of the harshness of the weather and how this place was to live in at the time those women created those knitwear, it's just very inspiring. So I've settled on Fair Isle 7 years ago, and I've got a knitting studio that you can see on this picture that I built 5-6 years ago, and I've got, well, four years ago, and I've got everything I need to be the most creative, and I really as a best place for the views as well. So on the island at the moment there's 8 knitters, and up until 2010 there was a knitting cooperative, but it's not the case anymore. Traditionally on Feral, knitters have taught the next generation, and Trina, who's the most renowned, most qualified, skillful knitter at the moment, has been doing most of the recent years training on the flatbed machine and also for the finishing. The skills were really divided at the time of the cooperative that they started in the 80s, and there was the knitters and the finishers. That's something I don't find necessarily, it's for productivity and for skills and things like that, but I think it's important to know how to knit the garment on the machine to then understand the finishing and why some pieces have mistake or why there is some problems. And then the opposite is true as well. If you're only knitting, you don't really understand the job of the finisher, and you may not care so much for some details that are actually making the job of the finisher really difficult. So to me, it was always important to have both those skills together and teach people both, and then whatever they are the most comfortable or happiest doing, then they can do it, but with an overall knowledge of the craft. I think that's how my project started about teaching people, is because I was contacted by Nick, and I just really enjoyed teaching in the community, and I was like, there is maybe more to it, and I should maybe look into developing a bigger project. So that's when, because my main income is from doing knitting holidays on Feral. People come to me for a week and then we knit together. It's very difficult for people to come to Feral, and I understand that's not everyone is able to. So I wanted to have something I can offer easily to people that cannot make it to Feral. It was also the developing my business. I was thinking that I was needing to be able to train people without committing the time, because there's people that come to Feral to live and then they leave after 6 months and a year because they don't actually like it here. So if you spend 3 months in the winter teaching someone how to knit and then they leave, then you just wasted a lot of time. But my business is also making knitwear for sale to visitors and online. And I could really do with more people knitting and finishing for me. So I thought if I create a course, then they can take it at their own pace at home. And then if I've got all my knitting pattern for my items that I've got in my collection, then they can make them for me in a way that they are kind of independent. So obviously I will provide support and everything, but it was also, if one day no one on Feral knit anymore, sadly, because people have moved on or passed away, then someone can move here and pick up the craft without having anyone actually physically there to teach them. So that was the whole idea behind creating that online course. And the machine knit community just became like quite an obvious platform to have it on, because I love Nick's work, and they're just it's such a great easy platform that I thought it was the best way to provide it. So the video are available on the machine knit community, which is the it's a bit more than a masterclass, because it's going to be accessible for a long time. Like there's no timeline on how long it's going to be running, and it's for people to use at their own pace, but we'll have monthly meeting as well. And the patterns are available on my website as download, because I didn't want to include them in the community because I would have had to put a higher price on it, but some people will not want to knit all 9 patterns. So it was really, so the price wouldn't include the patterns, so people could pay only for what they want to knit. So the patterns are available on my website as a PDF download, as a bundle altogether, or separately. And I'm just going to show them to you now. So I've got 9 pattern increasing in difficulties, going from the swatches and warmers to the very complicated cardigan. Sorry, I said I was going to stop to get people in, and I didn't. So let me just get everyone in. So let me, I think everyone, sorry for anyone that was late. I think I've just let you all in now. And yeah, I'm on my own tonight, so I was just waiting for a good time to stop. So you'll be able to watch in replay the catch up the first bit. So I'm now going to show you in detail the 9 patterns that are available, and then I will show you more detail on one of the pattern. So you've got the warmers that are for making from your swatches, for gauge swatches. I always find with Feral, you really want to swatch for colors and contrast and things like that. Once you've got your gauge, then that's great, but you also want to do swatches mostly for actual color work. So it's quite good to make them into something. You've got a beanie that is great to use the ribber and to start playing with colors as well. And the scarf, the loop scarf and the long scarf, they've got all the motif from the card. So they've got 24 individual motifs. But anyone that already taken my class for the Storm Dennis Snood, it's the same patterns because I thought maybe some people wouldn't be happy to punch 360 new rows. So I thought I better stick to the same motif just so everyone can reuse their punch card. So obviously you can also adapt to your own motifs and your own punch card from what I gave, but I thought it would be easier that way. The colorways you may have started to notice, the colorways, there is two different ones. There's some with light background and darker motif, and then some with darker motif and darker background and light motif. So basically, I'm conscious that people usually only have two holes for tension mask. So I was wanting the motif to be only with 4 colors. Most of them, most of the colorway only have 4 colors, so you can still do the garment without having to have extra tension mask or changing the yarn all the time. But I'm using 4 tension masks for having 8 colors on my machines. But I also wanted to gradually go towards more difficult colorways. So this one, for example, when the background stay all the time the same, is a lot easier to knit because you only change the foreground. And then it goes to this one, which is harder to knit because you change the background, but not the foreground. But this one in turn is easier to finish because it's easier to see the stripe to align your motif, the stripe of background color. It's easier than trying to finish something that is just one color for the background. So that's the different degree of difficulty that you can play with. And so, sorry, you've got the sleeveless. There's quite a timeless garment. I saw there's lots of beautiful one in the community already, so this is just my take on it. And you've got a drop shoulder jumper with a round neck. The neck has been adapted from that drawing. It's less square and boat neck, but I didn't got the drawing remade because that was a lot of work already for the illustrator to do the pictures. So the neck is not exactly like on the drawing. It fits better now. And then there is a poncho as well, which is a great outer garment and easier. You don't need a ribber for it. So it's quite a good first garment. And then the cardigan is really like the masterpiece once you finish the class. And yeah, it's really something you can be proud of. There is a lot of grafting. And yeah, you'll see in the patterns, I explain everything in writing, and you also have the videos. So what I recommend to use the course is, so I forgot to say, the hand warmer pattern is available in the community once you join the masterclass in the academy. So you don't have to buy this one separately on my website. So once you decide that you want to take on the class, I would recommend to read the pattern carefully. Some people like to skip things, but basically reading is really important. Then I would recommend to watch some of the video, maybe not all of the video, but at least read really well the index so you know where to find the information if you need them at some point, and watch the main knitting video. Then I would recommend to do a swatch and calculate your gauge, then knit, finish, and share in the community. This training is for me to train professional to knit on feral, so obviously it's to a very high standard. It's exactly how I'm making the garments for sale, and I'm not expecting everyone to want to learn to that degree. And I would be absolutely not offended if someone is like, I want to link everything. I'm just going to knit your garment, but I will use a linker and I'm not going to match or stitch by hand the garments. That's crazy. That's fine. You can just adapt to what you want to learn at which point of your journey. So it's not to say you have to do exactly what I say. And obviously I don't have the best knowledge ever, so there may be things I don't know about that are easier in a different way. So that's the whole good thing with the community, is that on the thing we can share. If you find another way to do things, you can share it with other people and they may like it. That's totally fine. I'm now going to show you the folder once you download them. It's a zip file that is downloaded from my website, and once you download them, it expands to a folder like this. And in the folder, that's what you'll have. So you've got the design and knit file, thanks to Andy Valentine, that I think everyone knows, or maybe a lot of people know on the community because she's got so much good knitting and so helpful. So she test knitted for me the pattern and exported her design and knit files. So I cannot open them. I don't have design and knit, but there is a pattern for each of the colorway and the blank chart for the punch card, just a repeat section. So here we are. And then you'll have the colorway file, which is to use in combination with the instruction file and the shape charts. So I will go through the colorways that you can have. So those are the one with the dark background that change throughout the jumper in regular stripes. And then the motif are in one color. You have the same in red as well, but we will also work in the monthly meeting and things like that, how to adapt to your own colors. On this one, it's really easy to adapt it to any three dark colors that you want. You could have three greens, three blue, or you could have two blue and a green, or things like that. And basically, I always put the same on the medium pattern, and then always the same on the outside of the big pattern, and the lighter of the three in the middle of the big pattern. So it's really easily adaptable. There is then the reverse, which are the same color, but in a different order. I thought if you, for example, buy 4 kilo of Shetland yarn to make this, then you could make some things with the dark background and the light foreground, and then you'll have a lot of the light foreground left, and you can do the reverse with the same amount of yarn. You can do then something else with the reverse of those yarn. So this is what happens here. You've got the light background and then the darker color going in gradients around. So that's the same. You can adapt it to any colors. And then I've got a more traditional colorway. I call it traditional twist. You cannot really see it here, but it's because the color I recommend, Cardinal, Clyde Blue, Scotch Broom, they're not the original color that people would use for the traditional colorway in Fair Isle, but it seems that every knitter has its own red or its own blue, so I was wanting my as well. So if in 100 years someone look at a piece of knitwear and they will be like, oh, this was Marie's because it's using Clyde Blue and not the Prussian blue or another blue. So this is a bit more desaturated, less bright. Those colors, it doesn't look like that on the screen, but those colors in real life are a bit desaturated compared to Prussian blue and Madder red. So this is a very traditional way to put them. This is using 5 colors, so you will need to swap the yarn or have an extra mass for that. And then there is the traditional one with the undyed, the natural color of the Shetland ship, and that's very popular as well, to just use the natural colors. So I've also put blank ones, so you can put your own colors by coloring in pencil or things like that if you want to just mark it up or do some drawing on it if you feel like it. But basically, this works with every pattern, and the garment pattern will tell you for this size, start at row 42 of the colorway of the punch card. So this will tell you where to start for which size. So I'm now going to go back here, and there is a punch card one. So this one is similar to the previous one, but that's just your punch card. So it's easier to punch because there's only the 24 stitch repeat, and you can do that easily. And there is a bit about the center of the card and things like that. That is just information for you to know. And there's information about how to punch the card and about the patterns as well. So the next thing is going to be the instruction, and that's another PDF where you'll have all the instruction for the pattern. There's a few elements of sizing, but I will go over the sizes later on. There is the ribs that you need to knit for each garment in each size, and they tell you how many stitches you need to have. But for the rib, there is another instruction that's common to all the garments, and that's for just the instruction for knitting the ribs. So that's and there's instruction for how to pick up the rib, things like that, transferring it and other element of it. So that's for the ribs, and then it will tell you general notes about the hand needle selection, the weaving, how to read the charts, the shaping, decreasing, increasing, all those things, the finishing with the mattress stitch and the picking up the stitches, the grafting. I was kind of hoping by putting the notes first in the pattern, people would read them. I'm not sure if they will read them more than if they were at the end, but basically, I recommend to read it. But if you don't want to read it, then you can jump straight to the instruction, and the instruction will tell you step by step what to do, where to decrease, and things like that. It will tell you which charts to use. And for example, when you're knitting the back, it will tell you to use the shape chart and the colorway chart of your choice. So for that, the shape chart, if you're knitting, for example, the size 3, this is the printout that you need to have. And this will tell you how much yarn is used in average. That was really difficult to calculate. So it's been quite quite a challenge because I've got so many sizes and so many garments. So I could only average for the foreground and for the background. Otherwise, it would have taken forever. And this has already taken like a couple of years for me to write out. So that's for the pattern. So you'll have the chart and it will tell you where to decrease for the armhole because it's quite tiny, the numbers and things. So you'll have the armhole decrease, the back neck, and every time it tells you how many stitches you're taking it off for the neck here. And it tells you here where to start. So it's starting row 1 here is actually row 61 of the colorway and the punch card chart. So you'll have the same for the front and for the sleeve. And what I quite like is that you'll have a table that will tell you where to increase and how many stitches you should have once you have increased. So each of those rows is when you see row 6 on your row counter, then you need to increase to 37, 38 needles. And then every step of the way, you know exactly what you should have. If you made a mistake and you need to rip something off, then you can easily tell, well, this is this motif I'm on, this is row 90, I should have that amount of stitches. So you can put it back on the machine really easily. So this is maybe looking a bit overwhelming, but when you do the knitting step by step, then it's quite helpful to have. And once we go back to the instruction, you'll have on the front as well. And then for sizes 5 and 6 is using larger than the whole bed of the machine because I wanted the jumpers to be size inclusive, but I was limited to the size of my needle bed. So I've also created for the size 5 and 6 to have 2 halves sewn in the middle because the sewing is invisible. So you can sew in the middle, and so those sizes have different instruction because you have to knit it in a slightly different way. So that's for the size 5 and 6, and then you have the sleeves that will tell you how many needles you need to have and step by step for the sleeve. And then the finishing is also detailed step by step. So just by reading the instruction, you should be completely fine to do all the finishing of the garment. So that's for the written instruction. And the last thing I need to show you is a size calculator. So it's a little spreadsheet I created where you have all the information about the garments. So basically, you can enter your gauge here, your stitches, where it's blue, you can enter your gauge. So your stitches for 10 centimeters, and then your rows for 10 centimeters, and then this is for you to measure how many 20 row of rib gives you, and then you can put in centimeters how many that is, and same for 10 rows. So basically the jumpers either have 20 row or 10 row for the ribs, for the neck and trims, and then 20 for the cuff and body rib. So once you've input your gauge here, it will change it in the jumper size calculator. And this tells you well, those measurements. So it will tell you the length in the center back, length in the front, shoulder width, chest circumference, length to armhole circumference, top sleeve width, length center sleeve, and cuff width. This is to take with a pinch of salt. Obviously, you know how knitting works. There is a lot you can do by blocking it and pressing it and how it's washed and the temperature and the yarn you use. But this is to give you kind of a vision of how your gauge is going to impact your sizes. And if you're measuring your ideal jumper and then compare it to what you find in the different sizes with your gauge, then you can pick which size you want to knit. If, for example, your chest is going to be working with a size 3, then if the length is too long, then you can say, well, there is 191 row, but it's too long for me. I will take one motif off, which is either 11 row or 19 row. You can deduce them from that. So 191 minus 19, and I shouldn't have done that. So we'll just take 11 row out of that, which is 180, and know the length is only 66 centimeters. So you know that's what you want. Exactly. That's how you can use this. So let me put it back correctly. So try not to touch anything. I don't know how to work Excel. I had a friend working it out for me, and I'm very afraid to make anything bad. But basically, I've been using it for my bespoke orders, and it's quite saving me a lot of time to figure it out. So that's for the jumper calculator. So all that are in the delete. Oh, I don't know what I've done. Good. So that's the jumper file. So here we are. So we can go back to this, and I'm going to, I know I speak really fast. I'm sorry. There's so much to cover. So no, it's about the video that you'll find in the online community. So the patterns are on my website, and then on the online, on the Machine Knit community, you can subscribe to Feral Academy, which is you need to buy the first 3 months together, and then you can keep it up for a month at a time. You can renew it every month if you want. The first 3 months are for £165, and then it's £10 a month to keep it on. If sorry, just ignore me. It's £105 if you're already in the community, and 165 if you're not in the community. And then if you're already in the community, it's £10 a month to keep it up after the initial 3 months. So you can pause it and take it whenever you need it. We may run some knit along as well. That will work more like a masterclass where for 1 month we do something. So you can take it on only for a month, things like that. So in the Machine Knit community, in the Feral Academy, this is what you'll find. And I will share my screen for that later on. But all the video are by category of what you're trying to do. So if you don't know how to do the ribs, then you'll go to the rib knitting thing. But I will just probably easier if I open the Machine Knit community here. So here I'm here, and now I'm going to do the Khan Academy. So here is a video index. You'll have a welcome part, so hopefully everyone can see this. And in the welcome, you'll have the presentation video I've got on my website, just as a little reminder. And then you'll have the pattern for the hand warmer to download. This is a file with the hand warmer pattern. And then that's a video index. So that's kind of for you to get familiar with, so you know where to find the information you want. So you've got a video for each of the product. So if you're starting knitting the jumper, just go to product and watch the jumper video. Then you've got the machine knitting videos, and they all have subsection. If you're casting on, if you're knitting, if you're taking off, if you're fixing mistake, it's quite good to have a read of all of those. And that's for the index. And then once you're into, let's say, rib knitting, you can come here, and then you'll have all the different video about rib knitting. So that's for this. The video are recorded with me using my silver reed SK280 and the rubber that goes with it, and hopefully a lot of it is transferable to other type of flatbed machine, but it's not recorded for each of the different machine, which I think it was kind of the challenges of creating that course was for it to be working with every single machine possible and writing the instruction for all that, which was not possible. And then all the gauges possible and all the different yarn people were going to use. And that kind of snowballed into way too more complicated than I could deal with. So that's how I had to kind of pick and choose what I could do. So no, we'll go back to this, and I thought let's see. Yeah, I thought I will share with you a couple of video. Let's hope that this works. And the video I picked was one about weaving the ends. Probably a lot of you know how to do it already, but it's to give you an idea of how the video are recorded and yeah, what my teaching looks like. So I'm just going to place this video about weaving the end and the next about fixing drop stitches for you. So let's cross fingers working. The problem with feral knitting is the number of ends you get because of changing color all the time. One way around that is to weave them in as you go on your machine. To weave them in, you wrap them around some needles and they will knit at the back of your stitches. So they are not making new stitches, it's hidden at the back of your stitch. So I will show you with a different color. So I will just knit one row and show you what to do with this piece of yarn. So this is the needle it's coming from because it's a plain row, so it's coming from the last needle of the row. And what we'll do is that we always forget the second needle. The second needle of the row, you always ignore it. You don't weave around it because that's where you do your seam and you don't want to make it bulky. So you just forget the first needle, go to the third, fourth, and fifth. So you always leave one needle after where your yarn is coming from, and then take the three after that. And on the first needle, you go around it from underneath and around. You miss the middle needle, you go to the last one, you go underneath and around. And then you go back to that middle one and you go underneath and around it. Where you wrap your yarn around is your needle not past the latch. You don't want your stitch to pass the latch neither. You're just making this a loop behind your stitch and you keep it quite loose so it doesn't block your needle from going up and down. So no, you put your weight on the end to put some weight on. And no, you carry on knitting in feral. So I will just show you because no, we'll have a contrasting color. It will be good. So I will just knit one row. And now I've got this end to weave in. So I'm missing the second needle and I'm going on the free needle after that. The reason I'm pushing them out slightly is because I want to go past those teeth. You don't want to be entangled around those teeth. So I'm going underneath and around the first needle and pushing it back down. Underneath and around the second one, but you see, if I go more, then my stitch go past the latch and I'm either going to drop it or I'm going to create a new stitch. And you don't want to create a new stitch. You want the end to be hidden at the back of your stitch. So you need to make sure you don't push your needle too far out. If you don't push it out at all, it's impossible to go around it without going around one of the teeth, which will catch your yarn and then make a big problem a few row after. So here you are, just wrapping it around and around the middle one. Then putting your weight on. And now here, if for some reason I had to cut this yarn, you will see that my yarn is not coming from the edge needle. My yarn is coming from 4 needle inside. So you want to go toward the middle of your knitting. Always, when you weave in your yarn, you go toward the middle. So from this side is towards the right and from this side towards the left. You always want to leave one needle that you don't wrap around next to the one that your stitch is coming from. And then you go around the first one, then you miss one, you go around the third one, and then you come back to that middle one and you go around quite loosely, because you see, if I do it too tight, when my needle is going to come to knit, the weaving won't pass the latch, and then it will be at the front of your next stitch, which will show. So what you want to do is quite loose, so it doesn't show. And now we're ready to put your new yarn and just knit one row. So that's for the first video, and I will show you the next video somehow. Yes, so drop stitches. Drop stitches. There's a few different reasons why you can have drop stitches. One of them is if you have a needle that is broken, and then it's just a case to pick up that stitch back and put it back on the needle and fix it yourself. If the needle is completely broken, then you will need to take your work off the machine, replace your needle, put it back on the machine. If it's just a dodgy one, you can just fix it every time. Keep an eye on that specific needle and fix it every time you see that it created a drop stitch or a mistake. If it's a drop stitch, but you notice it's further down, like you hadn't noticed at the moment it happened, I would not try to fix it. I would just leave it because it's really easy to fix by hand. So if you notice and it's just you've got an empty needle, fix it. If you don't, then don't worry about it. One thing that I'm always saying is go slow when you start your row and really make sure you are knitting correctly. One of the mistakes that often happen is people will put their yarn in the yarn feeder and then start knitting their row. And then somehow the yarn is going to come off because they will hold it like not vertically, but like in an angle a bit. So they will start knitting the row, and then they are not going to notice that those stitches are dropping. Well, if you notice this before the middle of your row, just after a few needles, all you have to do is get a lot of tail, put your yarn back in, and it will at least get the other ones done. So here, you notice I've dropped one needle every 2 stitches, or no, it's not as regular, but there's 2 knit stitches, 1 drop, 1 knit, 1 drop, 2 knit, 1 drop. So don't worry, no panic. All you have to do is hold with your left hand your knitting to put a bit less tension than the weight, and then pick up your stitches with your transfer tool and pull your needle completely out once you have your stitch on. So here I'm just going to pick up each stitches, and with my left hand I'm pinching quite hard on the stitch so it doesn't unravel further, and I'm just going to put it back on the machine with my transfer tool. But as you can see, if you notice before it's the end of the row, there's a lot less stitches to put back on. All you have to do is to make sure that you pull enough yarn so you can have the tail to do those. It had happened to me to just put the yarn and then realize, oh, I don't have the yarn to fix those. So it's important that you remember that point. So here you're just each stitch with the transfer tool, you pinch between your thumb and your index of your left hand, and then you go in the stitch with your transfer tool. It's really easier if you have your finger underneath the stitch that is dropped, because you see my tool is almost going all the way to my nail, just to make sure I get it. If I don't have my finger underneath, then I can't. I don't have anything to push against to put it on my needle. So here you carry on pushing them out as you go. Is an easy way for you to know which one needs to be knitted in white. Now I carry on. So I had a plain blue row before, so now it's easy for me to check that they're all knitted in blue and didn't drop one more stitch, except the edge one dropped the edge stitch. So I'm just going to come and knit it in blue. So that was my
my row before when it all dropped that I'm going to reknit here, reknitting it, and then putting that. And now manually, you just thread each needle and create a stitch. So here we are. It makes sure they are a bit the same size, but it's not, it doesn't really matter a lot. So that's how you fix your drop stitches. Just pick them back up and then manually put your yarn. If you had dropped everyone, then just go back to a plain row to transfer back on your machine. If you have a few stitches lost next to each other, it's sometimes really hard to pick it up. So sometimes that's when I decide that it's not worth it. And then that's going to lead us to the next video about how to use the plain row as saving row.
So that was for the samples of the video. I just read in the chat that they weren't maybe so clear and sync than they should be. I downloaded them on my laptop so I could show them directly. So maybe that didn't work too well. But hopefully you get a vibe of what I'm talking about in the video and how I explain things. And I was wanting to show you some of the work from the test knitters and from Sandra that is already in the academy. So Andy made that beautiful sleeveless with just using 2 colors. And even though there's only 2 colors, it just feels like a bit more complicated because the small pattern has a dark background and light foreground, and then the large pattern has the opposite, which just with 2 colors, you can already start playing with how things will look like. So I think that's quite cool. Teresa has also given lots of information about her test project in the community, in the academy page, and how much wool, maybe not how much wool she used, but which wool she used and how she made the garments. And then let me find oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Anyway, I'm just trying. I've got my face right in front of what I want to show you, but it's okay because you don't have my face there, hopefully. And yeah, the Sandra swatches are really cool. I like how she's already adapted it to her own colors and played with the motif and swatches. So cannot wait to see what she will be knitting next. I think I've got the notification on my phone for the machine knit community, but if people tag me on things, I then get a message, and I'm just really happy to be answering the same day and just for us to share question and things. And then the plan is for every month to pick some questions that people have and answer it on the monthly meeting, and also just look and appreciate what people have been making. And if we have nothing to talk about, then I will just share some picture of Feral and what happened in the community at that time. But yeah, that's for what this is going to be. I need to thank Island and Island Enterprise, which partly funded the video grapher. So I had 2 people coming to film for a whole week. So that was a lot of work. And then Nick, Steve, and Katie in the Machine Knit community that helped me so much set it all up and make it deliverable. Even though I still feel like it sounds complicated, it's not complicated. I feel like I make it more complicated than it is. But basically, you have the pattern on my website, you have the access to the academy, which is like a big masterclass, but it will run whenever you need it and for how long you need it. And then we'll just be together knitting and sharing and hopefully, yeah, just supporting each other in that feral journey. So then the process was really complicated because I had never written a pattern like professionally, and I really wanted it to be done once and for all. And I never listened to Nick that was having the great advice to publish one after another and just make it small bites that I could chew. And no, I was so wrong of just wanting all the 9 patterns together and all finish and never think about it again. But I had some help from Emily that presented in the knit knitting community already because she's a pattern writer and she was so helpful. I mean, I cannot believe she put up with me for so many years just trying to get this project. Rosie Woodland helped also with the grading, and Pamela did the last review of the tech editing. And then Emma and Daniel produced those beautiful pictures you've seen. So Emma was drawing the garments for me because I didn't want them to be picture of the garment, because I wanted anyone to project what colorways they would want, or not to give an exact garment on the knitting pattern. And then I didn't want it in black and white because Feral is all about color. And then it ended up blue, red, and white. And it's not because I'm French. I'm absolutely not patriotic. So I don't know how this ended up blue, red, and white, but I really like them. And Daniel is a friend, is a photographer from the Netherlands, and came to take the pictures. Liz and JJ did the video, and that's the same. They put up with me and so many edit back and forth. We had over like, I think 90 hours of video that we trimmed down to 7 hours, but it was a very crazy process. And then of course, thanks to Andy for providing the design and knit files, which I'm sure will save a lot of time to everyone. And to all the test knitters that put up with me, supported me, and just gave such valuable feedback. I couldn't use all the feedback. I think the main feedback that I'm annoyed not to be able to include was to write the video correspondence in the knitting pattern so people knew exactly when. But I would have wrote everywhere that there was a video about it, because there's video about every single aspect of it. So it made more sense to have a good comprehensive index. And also I want people to feel like they can buy the pattern and make the garments without buying the video. So if you want to just try first to have the pattern and see if you can do without the video, anyone that's taken the Storm Dennis class would be pretty good to go with all the accessories, no problem. And then for the rest, it's maybe a bit more challenging, but I think it's possible because it was intending like that when I wrote it. So that's for my presentation, which, even though I speak fast, run for longer than I thought, and I hope I made it quite clear, hopefully. So if anyone has any questions they want to put in the chat, I'm happy to answer any question. And yeah, Caroline, if you already have the snood and the cap, you really don't need the bundle. If you want to buy all the garments, I could do a bundle just for you if you want to email me, and I can just give you a discount code for just buying the garments. I should probably have thought about something like that. But yeah, so if you want to buy just the jumper, for example, there will be everything I showed, and it's everything you need to knit the jumper. So that's for that. And yeah, thank you, Sandra, for your comment. If anyone has a question, they can just pop in as well. You don't have to write it down. But well done, Cindy, for going for all 80 video. It's not 80 hours, it's 80 video, 7 hours, because that would be a good chunk of your life that I don't want to take over. But yeah, 80 video, well done. So yeah, maybe just watching all the video, then you know where is the information you need when you come to a problem, or when you come to a next step. That can be good. So yeah, if anyone want to start with some questions.
Can I ask the question rather than just by typing it out? Okay. So just so I'm clear, the patterns we buy from your website?
Yeah.
And they are how much?
So the pattern, yeah, I haven't talked to you about prices. £5 for the smaller accessories, then £10, I think, for the most complicated accessories, the cap and the scarf, and then it's £15 for the garments each.
So for the, and is there like a whole bundle just to
and
buy
the
all?
bundle is £70, I think.
70.
That's the kind of thing I should have checked before coming on.
Okay. And access to the videos is 105 for 3 months.
Yes, for
if
anyone
you're part of the community. And then if you want to have access for longer, it's £10 a month. Have I got that correct?
Yes, after that, and you can pause it and go back to just paying £10 a month, as long as you have.
Okay, so you can't just buy the videos as a bulk and then just watch them when you want.
Well, no, because I had a problem with that. If the machine knit community one day disappear, or if there's anything, I don't know how I could guarantee you'll have access to them forever. And it's like 45 gigabytes. So I didn't know how to make people download them. And it just felt like it would need to be really expensive if it was forever that I was giving them to someone. So that's why we came up with that monthly thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
There,
Okay,
at the
perfect.
moment, I don't have another solution.
No, okay, just trying to understand
Yeah.
like how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it works. And hopefully people can, I know some people will have project ongoings and things like that. So it's just so people can join whenever they are ready to do some ferals. They don't have to, yeah, it's quite good if you think like next January you want to start 3 months of feral, then you can join then and not feel pressured to do something with it until then if you don't join now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Thank you very much. Trying to get myself back into it after a distracting year.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, no, I think it's good to do things together, and I felt like if I had it as a standalone, I was going to miss a lot of beginner information that are in the machine knit community. So I didn't want to do the course on my own without the machine knit community access, because I felt like I don't have time to record beginner video or how to knit plain or how, things like that. So it's very much just about the feral knitting, this part. So anyone else? Is there a limit on number who can join? No, there isn't. At the moment, I think we've got 12 knitters, which is really exciting. And I think, I don't think there will ever be any number limit. Well, I can't imagine. There will need to be a lot of people for me to say that's too much. So yeah, if anyone has any question, I'm happy. Didn't thought I was really clear, so I was expecting lots of questions. So if everyone is happy, I don't know. Is there anyone here that test knitted for me that want to tell about what they've made? I don't know if there is anyone. I cannot recognize any names. It's too much writing. Well, if no one has any question, oh, do you explain how far apart you have spaced the mast? I'm pretty sure I do explain it, but if I haven't, I'm just measuring between the two masts that are provided with the machine, like the two holes that are provided on the machine, and then I repeat that space on each side of the ones that are already fixed on the machine. So the one thing you have to do is make sure to put them back a bit, because the machine one, they're a bit angled. So you don't want to put them straight on your machine, otherwise they will be too much in front of you. So if you buy the extra holder for them, they need to be further back than on the side of your machine, if that makes sense. And don't ask me how I figured that out. So children's size. So basically my size 1 is very small. So I really think from the jumper size calculator, if you have the jumper that the child size is in, or those 5 measurements that I've got in the table, you could definitely do the children's size from just measuring one and adapting the length of the garment by taking away some motif. And then when you do take away some motif, just remember to start the row counter at the correct row of the chart and not at 0, because if you're taking away 2 motifs, then you need to take away those 40 or so row. You need to put them on your row counter already, if that makes sense. So that would be the way for children, because I really don't think I will ever have time to make children sizes. Basically, those patterns are what I sell on Fair Isle, and people would not buy jumpers handmade on Fair Isle for the price they would be at for children. They will outgrow them really, really fast. So why I prefer silver reed? I think it's better for Fair Isle because it doesn't pre-select the needles. So basically the broker will pull out your needles for the next row. And if you made a mistake or for any reason you need to rip off something or something like that, I find it more difficult. And for weaving in the ends, saying that in my car just now, there is an unopened box with a Brover chunky machine, because for chunky, Brover is the only one with a 24 stitch repeat. There is a punch card one. So I will be doing a bit of Brover knitting very soon with some chunky yarn, which is meant to stay a hobby project with no war-related thing. So I will not write any pattern video or made garment for sale with that. Touch wood. We'll see, because I'm known for just not respecting what I said. So yeah, I think that the main difference between the silver reed and the Brover for that is that needle selection. Also, I had a Brover the first time I ever bought a machine, and that was before I knew anything about knitting machine, before I had any training, and it was all just with the manual, and I had to change the belt that got completely broken, and I think that scared me for life, because changing that belt was just the worst thing ever to do. So I think, yeah, maybe a bit traumatized by Brover machines. Anyone else with any question? Anyway, I'm in the community. You can message me there. Even if you're not in the academy, you can message me anywhere in the community, or by email, or by Instagram, or anything like that if you have any question. If you want yeah, any more information, then that's okay as well. There has been a few people that couldn't download a zip file or expand the folder, and I've just been sending the file by email. So if that happens, don't hesitate to just email me, and I will be straight on it to send you the pattern. So yeah, just I think I will close the meeting if everyone is happy, and hopefully we'll see some of you knitting Fair Isle very soon, and other of you later on when you have time. And yeah, there is absolutely no pressure. Suzanne has not been able to open the zip file. I will email it to you just now from my computer as a file without being zipped. It's just on my website. I cannot have them not zip. I need just one file for people to upload, but most people have been okay with it, but I will just email you the pattern. Good. Good. So thank you very much for attending, and have a great evening and weekend. Bye. Bye-bye.